12 years ago, a tragedy struck under the wide Texan sky, far from the glittering lights of Los Angeles. A Chinese immigrant family, the Luo family, had found refuge in America. They lived on a remote ranch, raising horses and forging friendships in the community. One evening, when the horizon was painted with the orange glow of the setting sun, armed mercenaries launched a sudden attack, an onslaught that would change young Luo Ningsang's life forever. The ranch went up in flames, and the horses whinnied into the twilight. Luo Ningsang's father, once respected for his military service in the U.S. Army, attempted to defend his home. He shouted for his daughter to run, and she obeyed, only to witness a brutal scene that would forever be etched into her memory. The men who invaded claimed they acted under the orders of a powerful CEO, Shen Junmo's father, rumored to hold sway not just in corporate boardrooms, but also within the city's old political networks. They insisted the Luo family had betrayed the country, labeling them as traitors in a concocted scandal. Young Ningsang, terrified, escaped into the wilderness, eventually collapsing in the high desert. It was there that the wolves found her, ragged, starving, and numb from shock. 12 years passed. Raised by a mysterious wolf pack shaped by raw survival, Luo Ningsang, or Little Wolf, as she would come to be known, decided to return to her family's homeland in search of truth. She roamed from one small western town to another, collecting rumors and clues. Each step brought her closer to the powerful Shen family, whose estate was now set near a booming tech city in the heart of America's Southwest. There, the new head of the household, Shen Junmo, had risen to prominence as a cold and aloof CEO of a high-profile security firm, one rumored to have deep ties to government contracts. One crisp morning, Shen Junmo and his private security team scoured the desert canyons. They had caught wind of a wild wolf king roaming around, attacking small livestock and frightening local ranchers. But what they discovered was no ordinary coyote or wolf. Instead, they stumbled upon the track of something, or someone, far more intriguing. Shen Junmo was unlike most modern CEOs. Some claimed he had been in line for a major command position in the military, but pivoted into private security, inheriting his father's vast estate. His father's shadow loomed large. Half the city believed the elder Shen had been a righteous patriot, while the other half whispered about the old man's possible misdeeds. Shen Junmo's expression rarely revealed his innermost thoughts. He was ice-cold, yet impeccably mannered. Shen Junmo, curtly to his lead bodyguard,
"Set up a perimeter around those cliffs. The so-called Wolf King is out here. We're not leaving until we've got it. Notify the ranchers that we're sweeping the area."
His men, clad in sleek combat gear, split into squads. They carried advanced weapons more suited to a small military outfit than typical security. Shen Junmo's father had left him both wealth and high-level connections, so if he declared a canyon off-limits for a search, few dared question him. As the sun dipped low, creating shifting shadows over rocks and scrub brush, a sudden blur of movement caught Shen Junmo's eye. At first, he thought it a giant coyote, lean, battered, ready to fight. But then he realized this was something more.
"Careful, there it is."
He spun, leveling his tranquilizer rifle at the shadow. The Wolf King howled, darting between jagged boulders and behind mesquite bushes. For a moment, dust and darkness mingled to obscure the chase. Heartbeats hammered in the desert silence. When the dust settled, the wolf was sprawled on the ground, half-conscious, revealing the unmistakable features of a woman. Her torn jeans and a makeshift poncho suggested she had lived wild for ages. Her teeth were bared, and a low feral growl escaped her. Shen Junmo advanced with caution, a cold flame in his gaze. Shen Junmo, softly, almost to himself.
"Who? No, what are you?"
Instead of an answer in words, the woman, Luo Ningsang, lunged forward with uncanny speed. Even in her weakened state, she sank her teeth into the sleeve of Shen Junmo's jacket, tearing the fabric. Shen Junmo, startled, but pressing the muzzle to her forehead.
That's enough.
Their eyes locked. His men, uncertain how to handle this half-wild creature, tightened their circle, but Shen Junmo simply raised a hand, signaling them to hold fire. Shen Junmo commanding.
She's coming with us. Make sure no one shoots her, understood?
Confusion rippled through the squad. After all, the rumors described a vicious wolf king. Why would the CEO, ruthless in business, spare a threat? Yet none dared protest. Shen Junmo's order was absolute. So it was that Luo Ningsang, half feral and seething with quiet rage, entered the opulent Shen estate, a sprawling property surrounded by high-tech security systems and manicured lawns. The main house was a modern architectural masterpiece, complete with massive glass panels and dramatic lighting. Upstairs in the east wing, Shen Junmo oversaw the estate from his private suite. He had the Wolf King, still dazed, brought to a marble-floored room where sunlight streamed in, an environment utterly foreign to her. Servants gawked at the savage wounds on her arms and the defiance in her eyes. Head servant, whispering to the housemaids,
Good heavens, the boss actually brought her back alive? She's dangerous. Did you see the way she nearly bit Mr. Shen's hand?
Rumors spread quickly. The Wolf King was no ordinary intruder. Some whispered she might be the product of twisted experiments. Others insisted she must be an illegal immigrant lost in the desert. Only a few recognized the faint traces of her East Asian features and guessed at her Chinese heritage. Shen Junmo, quiet command to a trusted guard.
Prepare a room for her. Discreetly assign nurses and watch her. If she tries to escape, do not harm her. Just report to me.
That very night, out of sheer curiosity, Shen Junmo visited the locked guest room. He found Luo Ningsang crouched like a wolf in the corner, nails scratching at the plush carpet. In his eyes, there was a flicker of intrigue, almost admiration. Meanwhile, she regarded him with suspicion, recalling the distant memory of the Shen name linked to her family's downfall.
I told them not to hurt you. At least allow the nurses to clean your wounds. If you're worried about my men, I can stay.
She didn't reply, but the fierce glint in her gaze slowly softened, if only a little. She allowed a nurse to approach with warm water and antiseptic. Shen Junmo, stiffly formal, turned on his heel and left, giving her space, perhaps out of respect. Behind these tense moments, something else stirred, a sense of mutual fascination neither was ready to admit. For Luo Ningsang, revenge was a singular mission. For Shen Junmo, confusion warred with a strange protectiveness. Yet destiny had orchestrated their collision, setting them on a path strewn with dark secrets and old conspiracies. Soon, rumors of the Wolf King's capture spread through nearby towns. Ranchers who had lost livestock demanded the creature's head. Social media gossips spun stories of a monstrous woman locked in the wealthy Shen estate. And Shen Junmo's half-siblings, carrying their own grudges and insecurities, refused to believe that their older brother brought back a wolf girl simply out of kindness. They whispered among themselves, fanning the flames of hostility. Second young master, Shen Junhe, pulling a housemaid aside.
So is she truly as wild as they say? Does she speak at all?
She speaks just a few words, so far. But I'm not sure how much English she understands. She might be from somewhere in China or Taiwan, or maybe she grew up here, but, well...
Shen Junhe, rumored to have an affable personality, was in fact torn between curiosity and deep suspicion. He had studied abroad, coming back to help with the family business. If this wolfish stranger threatened the family's image or fortune, he felt compelled to intervene, yet something about her tragic aura stirred his compassion. Meanwhile, an older figure in the household, Butler Mu, kept an especially close eye on the newcomer. Stern-faced, with decades of service under Shen Junmo's father, Butler Mu had hidden depths. He personally saw to it that the Wolf King never left the property or uncovered any of the family's skeletons. If she was after something more than survival, he vowed to stop her. In a second-floor library, stacked with law journals and antique rifles, a swirl of old ghosts came rushing back into Luo Ningsang's mind. She studied the framed photographs on the walls. Images of a younger Mr. Shen in military uniform, shaking hands with local politicians, or standing proudly beside towering oil rigs that once belonged to the Shen Empire. Luo Ningsang, quiet to herself.
I remember my father's voice telling me to run, the Shen name, dogs of the Shen family.
Reflective hush. The recollections stoked her rage. She had evidence, fragmented though it was, that pinned the blame for her family's downfall on the elder Shen. But had she been misled? She needed more than raw anger and hazy memories to complete her vengeance. Later that night, she sneaked out of her locked room, using her heightened senses to dodge patrolling guards. Though forced to move silently along dark corridors, her instincts remained sharp. She overheard bits of conversation behind closed doors, glimpsed locked filing cabinets, and even spotted the old family crest that once accompanied Shen Junmo's father on official documents. Butler Mu, in a hushed phone call.
She's a wild animal. We can't let her roam. The boss, he's too trusting. We must find a way to keep her cornered. Or better yet, eliminate her if she becomes a real threat.
Luo Ningsang's heart pounded. Her wolf-like reflexes urged her to pounce, but she knew she needed caution. One false move could doom her fragile mission. Thus began her life inside the fortress-like estate of the Shen family, a realm of polished floors and hidden guns, glittering banquets and suspicious gazes. She would play the role of a half-tamed captive, waiting for the perfect chance to rip the truth from the shadows. In the days that followed, tension simmered. Servants scurried around, ensuring no mishaps would mar the Shen family's social standing. The talk of the estate was an upcoming engagement party for a distant cousin of Shen Junmo. Politicians, business leaders, and possibly even a local NFL star were expected to attend. In such a crowd, it would be easy for secrets to slip or for well-placed rumors to spread. Shen Junmo, busy with both corporate deals and estate matters, still found time each evening to check on Luo Ningsang. At first, they exchanged few words, mostly fleeting stares laced with unspoken hostility on her part and guarded curiosity on his. Shen Junmo, softly, after seeing the raw wounds on her arms.
You're hurt again. Did you attempt to climb over the estate walls?
Luo Ningsang, turning away, voice strained.
I don't need your help.
Yet he knelt and carefully wrapped her injuries, his expression unreadable. That momentary tenderness planted a seed of confusion in her heart. She had expected a monster, but in his eyes, she saw sorrow, regret. Perhaps she was only imagining it. Meanwhile, from a hidden corner, Butler Mu watched the scene, his hand clenched around the edge of a bookshelf, knuckles turning white. The deeper the wolf girl infiltrated Shen Junmo's personal space, the more dangerous she became. From the stables behind the estate to the lavish dining hall, everyone whispered about the Wolf King's presence. Some were enthralled, excited by the drama, and others terrified. As the days rolled on, tensions would reach a tipping point. Shen Junmo, unyielding in his cold politeness, might soon be forced to protect her in more direct ways. But no one realized that a swirling storm of vengeance and buried truths had only just begun. The wolf girl carried a secret older than the desert canyons. Shen Junmo harbored half-remembered nightmares from childhood, and certain members of the household and beyond would stop at nothing to ensure the past remained buried. This was the environment in which two formidable wills collided. On one side, the cold-hearted CEO who had lost a father under mysterious circumstances and inherited an empire riddled with suspicion. On the other, a young Chinese woman, orphaned by violence, raised by wolves, fueled by a quest to avenge her family. Their story would soon unfold in ways neither could predict, bound by the swirling sands of the desert and the scorching truths of an American dream turned nightmare. When Luo Ningsang, the so-called wolf girl, first arrived at the expansive Shen estate, no one suspected she carried a hidden purpose. She portrayed a meek, half-wild outsider under the CEO's reluctant protection. Yet behind her silence lay a vow for revenge. For across the sun-scorched deserts and suburban sprawl of the American Southwest, she had pieced together fragments of the Luo family's destruction, rumors of conspiracies tied to the Shen name. As days bled into weeks, the Shen household bustled with its usual affairs: board meetings, social gatherings with local dignitaries, private negotiations for security contracts. But behind polished doors and glassed-in corridors, tensions festered like a dormant volcano. For years, the Shen family had reined in both business and politics. Large portraits of Shen Junmo's father decorated the mansion's main foyer, capturing a confident smile and the medals pinned to his tailored suits, symbols of an old American dream built on deals with city officials and overseas investors. Many believed he had shaped the local economy for the better, bringing modern technology and jobs to the region. Others murmured about black money and intimidation tactics behind the scenes. In the midst of these rumors, the mysterious butler Mu remained a constant presence. Sharp-eyed and discreet, he oversaw security logs, controlled staff movements, and had direct access to every locked vault and private office. While Shen Junmo ran the modern aspects of the family empire, Butler Mu held the keys to its past, a past Luo Ningsang was desperate to expose. Luo Ningsang, in hushed monologue,
They all speak about the elder Shen as though he was an iron-willed patriot. But I remember my father's cries, the gunfire, the accusations of treason, the ranch, all gone in one night.
Alone in her assigned room, Ningsang sifted through old newspaper clippings. She'd scoured public archives in smaller towns, unearthing any trace of the Luo family's name. More than once, those papers mentioned the elder Shen as a revered figure. Yet, in the margins, she found cryptic references to a cover-up, a set of lost documents, or forged orders. For her family's sake, she resolved to remain among the Shens until she uncovered the truth. It was no easy feat. The household was a small empire with strict routines and watchful eyes. She devised a careful plan of patience, adopting the role of a subdued, half-feral woman just grateful for food and shelter. If they perceived her as harmless, they might let their guard down. Meanwhile, Shen Junmo grappled with problems of his own. Rumors in the press questioned whether he was too ruthless for his position in private security. Politicians worried he was using his personal militia-like forces to dominate the industry. And, overshadowing it all, was the nagging puzzle of his father's suspicious death, which he had never fully accepted as natural causes. Then there was the rest of the Shen family. Shen Junhe, the second young master, who had studied abroad for years, now returned to assist with family affairs. He displayed an easy smile, but harbored his own uncertainties. Could the wolf girl truly be an innocent victim, or was she a cunning threat to them all? Shen Junhe, taking Luo Ningsang aside in an empty corridor,
You aren't from any of the local tribes. You speak English, but not fluently. You understand Mandarin perfectly, though. Where exactly do you come from?
His tone was gentle, but Ningsang gave only a vague answer, eyes flicking to the security camera overhead. Luo Ningsang, briefly nodding.
I've been many places, lived in LA for a while, traveled the deserts. That's all you need to know.
A flicker of hurt dashed across Shen Junhe's face. He had offered sincere curiosity, but received only guardedness. Across the hall, Butler Mu watched silently. Whenever he sensed Ningsang speaking with a Shen family member, he found reasons to intervene. Butler Mu, sternly, to Shen Junhe.
Second young master, you're needed in the business wing. The files for that new NFL stadium contract must be reviewed.
Ningsang recognized it as a tactic to separate her from potential allies. The deeper she dug, the more obvious it became. Butler Mu was no ordinary servant. There was a quiet menace in his presence. One cool evening, when the southwestern sky blazed with pink and purple hues, Shen Junmo took a rare stroll in the estate garden. He carried an iPad with corporate reports, but occasionally paused to observe the wild cacti lining the perimeter. That was where he found Ningsang kneeling by a patch of desert flowers, feeding scraps to a stray coyote that had sneaked past security. At her feet lay a wounded coyote pup, whimpering softly. With surprising tenderness, Ningsang dabbed disinfectant on the pup's injured paw, using medical supplies stolen from one of the estate's clinics. Shen Junmo, quietly clearing his throat,
You know, if security sees that coyote, they'll chase it off, possibly shoot it.
Ningsang didn't turn around right away. She continued to soothe the trembling animal, her delicate fingers far gentler than her usual fierce demeanor suggested.
It won't hurt anyone. It's just trying to survive.
At that moment, Shen Junmo's cool facade cracked, just a little. He recognized in her eyes a reflection of his own childhood memories, the helplessness of losing something precious. Shen Junmo, hesitant, forcing composure.
There's a place near the stables where it can heal. I can keep the security cameras off that corner if you want.
Luo Ningsang merely nodded, eyes lowered. A silent truce seemed to form. For once, the wolf girl recognized a streak of compassion in the man she had sworn to hate. Later that night, Shen Junmo personally arranged a small hidden section in the stables for the coyote pup. Wordlessly, he let Ningsang come and go to tend the pup's injuries. Their interactions remained stiff, overshadowed by secrets, but bit by bit, a fragile bond took root. Not everyone was pleased by this growing closeness. In the estate's conference room, walls lined with black and white photos of old business partners, Butler Mu cornered Shen Junhe. A hushed argument ensued.
Second young master, your brother is distracted by that girl. You and I both know how dangerous that can be. We have deals at stake. Serious deals with local officials. The Shen name can't afford scandal.
Shen Junhe, taking a step back, uneasy.
You speak as if it's life or death. She's just a stray we rescued.
Mark my words, she's not who she appears. If we don't get rid of her, everything your father built could be toppled.
Shen Junhe frowned, conflicting loyalties stirring. It was true, the Shen fortune had weathered storms through cunning and sometimes ruthless efficiency, but was that reason enough to drive out a woman who seemed more wounded than wicked? That night, he decided to investigate on his own. Slipping into the estate's restricted library, he combed through dusty ledgers and old letter files. Hidden within false-bottomed drawers were documents that hinted at an incident long ago, a fiasco involving the Luo Ranch, allegations of treason, and hush-money transactions. Part of the text was redacted, but the references were enough to rock Shen Junhe's confidence in his own family. Shen Junhe, murmuring to himself,
What if we've believed a lie all these years?
Amidst the swirling tension, a new event loomed, a high-profile gala in Los Angeles, hosted by a philanthropic organization close to the Shen family. Not only would local businessmen attend, but also politicians seeking re-election and celebrities, some rumored to be Elon Musk fans or tangentially connected to sports teams. The Shen brothers had no choice but to make an appearance, continuing their father's tradition of public generosity. Shen Junmo reluctantly decided to bring Ningsang with him. He claimed it was for security reasons. He couldn't leave a dangerous wolf girl unattended at the estate. But deep down, he might have wanted to keep her close, to watch her more carefully, or perhaps to shield her from the family's more hostile members. When the party began at a glimmering rooftop venue, shimmering city lights stretched toward the Pacific. Guests in tailored suits and designer gowns brushed elbows with upstart entrepreneurs, a few old political figures wearing Keep America Great pins, and socialites snapping selfies under neon signs. Through the crowd, Shen Junmo cut a formidable figure, charismatic, controlled, emanating quiet power. By his side, Luo Ningsang, dressed in a simple off-white sheath, looked strikingly out of place, yet carried herself with a primal elegance that turned heads. A hush fell as they walked past. Onlookers whispered, "Is that the rumored wolf girl?" What's a savage doing in a place like this? Ningsang remained silent, scanning every face in the crowd. She spotted a few men with harsh eyes reminiscent of the mercenaries who once torched her home. Her fists clenched unconsciously. Shen Junmo, leaning in, voice low.
Stay close. This is a different kind of jungle.
She nodded, acknowledging that perhaps he too felt uneasy in the presence of so many who'd relish seeing him fail. Across the rooftop, Butler Mu appeared unexpectedly. He maneuvered through a ring of city council members, wearing a polished smile and exchanging pleasantries. Shen Junhei, sipping a glass of champagne, froze the instant he saw the butler in conversation with a certain local CEO known for shady alliances. Shen Junhei, to himself.
Why is he here outside the estate? He wasn't listed on the guest roster.
Alarm bells rang in Shen Junhei's mind. In the flickering lights of the gala, he slipped away from the crowd, trailing Butler Mu at a discreet distance. Shen Junmo and Ningsang were too preoccupied greeting donors to notice his absence. When Shen Junhei finally caught up, he glimpsed Butler Mu handing over a small package to that suspicious CEO. Their murmured conversation was drowned by the rooftop jazz band, but the expressions on both men were deadly serious. Then, as though sensing a witness, Butler Mu snapped his head around, locking eyes with Shen Junhei.
Second young master, eavesdropping doesn't suit you. This is business above your station.
Shen Junhei's heart pounded. He wanted to demand answers, to challenge this brazen betrayal, but the hush in Butler Mu's tone left little doubt. Confrontation here could end badly.
Return to your brother's side. Enjoy the gala. We'll speak later.
Fear and fury roiled in Shen Junhei's chest, but for the moment he retreated. The stakes had grown even higher. Butler Mu was forging alliances behind the scenes, likely mobilizing forces that could threaten Shen Junmo, the entire family fortune, and, possibly, the wolf girl's life. The gala concluded in a medley of camera flashes, hollow toasts, and forced smiles. By midnight, Shen Junmo and Luo Ningsang slipped into a private SUV. He let out a rare, tired sigh, leaning his head back against the seat. She remained quietly alert, scanning the deserted LA streets. Shen Junmo, barely audible over the hum of the engine.
When we get back, I'll show you something.
She said nothing, but curiosity flickered across her gaze. Beyond the tinted window, city lights blurred into a cosmic swirl of modern ambition and old secrets. An America shaped by relentless hustle, ruthless politics, and hidden tragedies. Early the next morning, they returned to the estate, where the desert breeze rustled cacti and the outlines of sun-baked canyons stretched on the horizon. True to his word, Shen Junmo led Ningsang down a maze of locked hallways into a secluded library. Shen Junmo, unlocking a drawer with a vintage key.
These are my father's journals and letters dating back over 20 years. Some mention a ranch owned by a man named Luo.
Ningsang's heart thudded. Her father's name might lie on those fragile pages. Would she finally see proof that the Shen family orchestrated her father's demise? Or would it vindicate them, pointing to a deeper conspiracy? Moments later, a heavy gunmetal door slid open, revealing a hidden alcove. Shen Junmo stood aside, letting her enter first. Countless files lined steel shelves, ledgers, contracts, personal diaries. The faint smell of old paper and dust made Ningsang tremble in anticipation. At last, a glimmer of truth was within reach. But they both knew it would come with a price, one that might set them on a collision course with Butler Mu and the swirling legacy of betrayal neither could fully unravel. Yet, inside the dimly lit alcove of the Shen estate's hidden library, an uneasy silence fell between Shen Junmo and Luo Ningsang, the woman once known only as the Wolf Girl. Through the dusty gloom, rows of records and handwritten letters promised revelations that could finally expose who had truly ordered the destruction of the Luo family ranch so many years before. Shen Junmo flicked on a single overhead lamp illuminating a worn leather journal inscribed with his father's initials. Ningsang inhaled sharply, steeling her nerves. She reached out to open the journal. Its yellowed pages rustled, yielding neat columns of dates and figures. Luo Ningsang, voice trembling.
All these entries, they look like corporate dealings, shipping manifests. Wait, here.
Her finger paused at an entry dated a dozen years back. In faint ink, it mentioned an investment in desert land belonging to the Luo family. Next to that, a cryptic note. Handled by M. Final disposal arranged. Shen Junmo, reading over her shoulder.
Handled by could it be Butler Mu?
They rifled deeper, discovering partial transcripts of phone conversations and military-style orders. Some sections were blacked out, but enough text remained to spark terror and outrage. References to a ranch infiltration, hush money paid to local enforcers, and secret land deeds transferred at suspiciously low prices. Luo Ningsang, swallowing hard.
These documents, they prove the Shen family was directed to strike at my father's ranch because someone faked allegations of disloyalty, treason. They called it a national security matter, so no one questioned it. But look at these signatures. Your father's name was forged.
Shen Junmo's eyes narrowed as he examined his father's so-called signature. It was a close imitation, yet certain details, such as the slant of the letter S, were off.
My father had deep flaws, but I never believed he would orchestrate a slaughter. Someone used his authority to carry out an atrocity, someone close enough to him to forge that signature without suspicion. Butler Mu must have arranged it all.
Just then, footsteps echoed beyond the hidden door. Ningsang and Junmo froze. Before they could extinguish the light, Butler Mu stepped into the threshold, flanked by two armed men. Butler Mu, murmuring with a smile,
Curiosity killed the cat, or in this case, the wolf and her protector. I see you found the evidence. Unfortunately for you, this little discovery ends here.
Tension snapped like a live wire. One of Butler Mu's men raised his gun. Shen Junmo, with the reflexes of someone who'd trained with private security teams for years, grabbed a metal cabinet door and wrenched it open, knocking the gunman back. Luo Ningsang seized the moment. With a fluid grace honed by her years in the wild, she ducked low, sweeping the second man's legs out from under him. He crashed into a shelf of old files.
Impressive. I always knew you were more than just a savage stray girl. And you, young master, too clever for your own good.
Gripping a hidden pistol, Butler Mu aimed straight at Shen Junmo's chest.
All these years I watched your father's empire grow. He took everything from me. The woman I loved, the loyalty I once had. My revenge is nearly complete. I made sure the Luo family was destroyed, and I framed your father with those forged documents. Now, you're about to follow in his footsteps.
The muzzle of Mu's gun gleamed under the lamp. Shen Junmo held his breath, but Ningsang, ignoring the pounding in her veins, moved with uncanny speed. She lunged forward, grabbing the barrel. The shot rang out, shattering the overhead light and plunging them all into near darkness. Luo Ningsang, snarling.
You'll pay for what you did to my family.
The wounded guard cursed in pain. The second guard scrambled, drawing a weapon. Shen Junmo caught the faint silhouettes in the gloom and tackled him before he could fire. A furious scuffle ensued, punctuated by ragged breaths and the clang of metal shelves. Ningsang pinned Butler Mu's arm to the floor. The lamplight flickered, revealing her feral glare. For a moment, she bared her teeth like the wolf she had become, torn between hatred and the desire to end the man who had orchestrated so much suffering.
We hand him over. He'll stand trial with these documents. The truth about the Luo family will finally come to light.
He deserves worse.
I know, but let the world see who he truly is. That is the best form of justice.
Slowly, Ningsang exhaled. She released her grip, and Butler Mu coughed, his face contorted in fury and disbelief. Moments later, estate security, alerted by the gunshot, burst in, subduing the gunman. Word spread quickly among the Shen family and their allies. A swirl of rumors about Butler Moo's betrayal hit the local press. Police, aided by federal authorities, took him into custody. The old forged documents were presented as evidence. Interviews with surviving ranchers confirmed the Luo family had been innocent all along. Finally, the scandal of treason pinned on the Luo family unraveled. Headlines read, "Shen family exonerates victims of old ranch tragedy." And even the local politicians had to concede that the real blame lay with a cunning butler who'd manipulated both the elder Shen and outside enforcers for personal revenge. Shen Junmo, reading a statement to the media.
My father was deceived. Lives were lost. This is a tragedy we can never fully repair, but we pledge to help restore the property rights and the honor of those wronged.
Standing just off to the side, Luo Ning-sang watched him address the cameras. In her chest, a swirl of conflicting emotions raged: sorrow for her lost family, anger at so many wasted years, and gratitude that the truth was finally out.
Father, Mother, we've been vindicated. The Shen father wasn't the demon I thought him to be, though he bore his own sins of ignorance. Butler Moo twisted it all. It's over.
Even with Butler Moo behind bars, the repercussions of the scandal rippled through the region. Some major investors withdrew from Shen Enterprises, wary of negative publicity. Yet many people, especially those who had seen Shen Junmo's quiet leadership, rallied behind him. His readiness to reveal the truth, even at personal cost, won back the trust of local ranchers and city officials. For Luo Ning-sang, returning to the high desert slopes felt bittersweet. One late afternoon, she wandered the old, sun-bleached remnants of her family's ranch. Most had been sold off, neglected by banks, or left to the cacti and tumbleweeds. She ran her palm over a broken fence post, remembering how her father used to fix it every spring. Shen Junmo came up behind her, unsure if his presence was welcome. She glanced at him with tear-bright eyes.
The ranch was my home. I lost everything here, but I have nothing to rebuild.
Shen Junmo, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder.
Then let me help. I can't bring back the past, but I can stand with you now.
For a moment, she tensed, remembering their tangled history. Then she exhaled, nodding.
All right, we'll rebuild it. Together.
Days turned into weeks, and the once ruined ranch began to show signs of renewal. Local workers pitched in, funded by a quiet donation from the restructured Shen Enterprises. Ning-sang oversaw the design, insisting on space for rescued wildlife. A small clinic was added to treat injured coyotes and other desert animals. Late one evening, under a starlit sky, Shen Junmo raced from the main house to find Ning-sang in the corrugated metal barn. Her face was pale, her breath unsteady. A rumble of thunder rolled across distant mountains. Shen Junmo, urgent.
What's wrong? You called?
But as he stepped closer, he noticed two small bundles curled up near a bed of straw. Tiny coyote pups, orphaned by a recent hunt on a neighboring property. Their mother had been shot for bounty, leaving them to fend for themselves. Luo Ning-sang, voice shaking with emotion.
I heard them crying on the edge of the ranch. I couldn't let them die. They're starving, shivering.
Shen Junmo, softening, gazing at the helpless pups.
You're going to nurse them, aren't you?
Yes, and I want you to help me.
He knelt down and cautiously picked up one of the pups. It whimpered, then licked his finger. A laugh broke from him, rare, genuine. Shen Junmo, quietly amazed.
So this is the wolf girl's gift, huh? 2 coyote babies for us to raise.
For Luo Ning-sang, these tiny creatures were a symbol of the new life she was forging, no longer purely fueled by revenge. She was discovering a place where love, or something close to it, could also bloom. A few months later, in a small ceremony on the ranch, the local pastor blessed the newly built enclosures for wildlife rescue. Shen Junmo quietly cut a ribbon with oversized scissors, while reporters snapped photos. Ning-sang, standing beside him, held one of the coyote pups in her arms. Shen Junhe, clapping, smiling warmly.
Big brother, Sister Ning-sang, Congratulations. This is wonderful. And those pups, they look stronger already.
The tension that once kept Shen Junhe wary of the wolf girl had dissolved. He had chosen a different path within the family business, focused on philanthropic work, determined to atone for the sins and secrets that once plagued them. In the sunlight, with a gentle desert wind stirring the new green seedlings by the barn, it seemed as though the ghosts of the past finally lay at rest. The Luo name was cleared, and the Shen family confronted the truth about their father's demise and the vile actions of Butler Mu. Luo Ningsang, exhaling relief.
Father, Mother, I hope you can see this. I've come home and I'm not alone.
Shen Junmo, voice resolute.
We'll make sure no one can distort the truth again.
At dusk, as the sky flared orange above the American Southwest, Ningsang carried the Coyote pups to a small pen near the stable. She sat with them while Shen Junmo looked on, arms folded comfortably. The pups nipped and tumbled, fearless and free, echoing the bond their adoptive mother once shared with wolves in the wild. Their yips rose to greet the evening star. A faint smile tugged at Ningsang's lips. Once she had lost everything here, her land, her family, even her human identity. Now she had found a cause bigger than her vengeance, a new family, made of human allies and the wild creatures she loved. Shen Junmo, quietly at her side.
You once said this ranch was a place of nightmares. Now look, it's full of life.
Luo Ningsang, eyes bright, stroking a pup's ears.
I think it's finally home again.
In that moment, the old anger in her heart eased. The Shen family, once her sworn enemy, had fought alongside her to expose the truth, and though they could never erase the scars of the past, together they had chosen reconciliation over hatred. So ended the long quest for vengeance that began with a frightened girl fleeing into the desert, only to become a wolf girl, guided by instincts sharpened in the wild. In the end, she found not just answers, but also an unexpected bond with the cold-hearted CEO who had saved her life. And in the glow of a setting sun, the improbable sight of two coyote pups, cared for by both man and woman, was a testament to the fragile yet unbreakable connection that can form even after the darkest betrayals. If you enjoyed this story, there's another video on screen right now. Go ahead and give it a look for an even more astonishing tale. And don't forget, we'll have many more uplifting and dramatic stories coming your way, so make sure you subscribe to our channel. That way, you'll never miss our newest uploads.